Okay, let's dive into something really cool. Have you ever just looked around at the natural world, all the animals, all the plants, and noticed that in this incredible rainbow of life, one color is, well, kind of missing? Today, we're gonna unravel a fascinating puzzle. Why is the color blue so incredibly rare in nature? So, let's just put the question right out there. I mean, you can picture animals in pretty much every color imaginable, right? We've got reds, greens, yellows, browns. They're everywhere. But blue? Blue is the exception, and it's a really beautiful one at that. Just think about it for a second. There are no blue tigers prowling through the jungle. You're never gonna see a blue bat flying through the night sky. And you're definitely not gonna find any blue squirrels burying acorns. The more you start looking for it, or not looking for it, the weirder its absence seems. So what is going on? Well, to figure out why blue is such an outlier, we first have to understand the rule. And the rule for how most animals get their color boils down to one simple thing: pigment. So what exactly is a pigment? Well, you can think of it kind of like a natural dye. It's just a molecule that's really good at absorbing some colors of light and reflecting back the one it doesn't absorb. That reflected color is what we see, and it's responsible for almost all the warm, earthy tones we find in nature. And here's the real kicker. Animals don't just whip up these pigments out of thin air. They have to get the raw materials from what they eat. The classic example, of course, is the flamingo. They aren't born pink. They're actually born gray, and they turn that amazing pink color because of pigments in the algae and shrimp they gobble up. So when it comes to most colors, you literally are what you eat. But this is where it gets really interesting, because blue breaks this rule completely. And to understand how, we have to look at one of the most stunningly vibrant creatures on the planet, the Blue Morpho butterfly. This one quote really gets to the heart of the whole mystery. When a scientist says that these butterflies aren't really blue, they mean it. There is absolutely zero blue pigment in their wings, not a drop. So if it's not a chemical, if it's not a dye, what in the world are we even looking at? The answer isn't in chemistry at all. Nope, it's in physics. The secret to the Morpho's jaw-dropping color isn't about what the wing is made of, but how it's shaped on a scale so small you can't even see it. And this is just a brilliant way to picture it. If you could zoom way in with a super powerful microscope, you'd see the wing scales are covered in these tiny ridges. And if you sliced one of those ridges open, they look just like tiny, perfectly stacked Christmas trees. And that specific shape, that's the whole secret. This amazing trick has a name. It's called structural color. So instead of using a chemical to absorb light, these tiny structures physically mess with the light waves themselves, bouncing them around, canceling some colors out, and amplifying others. Think of it like a tiny microscopic hall of mirrors. As white light from the sun hits these Christmas tree shapes, it bounces off all the different layers. Now, because of this super precise spacing, the light waves for red, yellow, and green, they all get knocked out of sync and just cancel each other out. Poof, they're gone. But the blue light waves, they reflect in perfect harmony, they build on each other, and they're the only ones that escape back to our eye. So let's just break this down side by side because it's so cool. On one hand, you've got your normal pigment color. That's all chemistry, all about what an animal eats. But on the other hand, you've got structural color, which is pure physics, created by an incredibly engineered shape. And we can actually prove it's not a pigment with a really simple experiment. If you put a single drop of alcohol on a Blue Morpho's wing, the liquid seeps into all those tiny gaps. It completely changes the way light bends and totally breaks that Hall of Mirrors effect. And just like that, the blue color completely vanishes. But here's the magic trick. As soon as that alcohol evaporates and air fills those tiny structures again, that perfect light filter is restored. And bam! The brilliant blue just pops right back into existence. It was never gone. The structure was always there, just waiting for light to do its thing. And this incredible hack isn't just for butterflies. It turns out this is nature's go-to solution for making the color blue almost every single time we see it. That vibrant flash of a blue jay's feathers, that's structural color, made by microscopic beads that scatter light. A peacock's incredible iridescent tail, same thing. It's a crystal-like structure. Even the shocking blue skin on certain monkeys is structural. And get this, if you have blue eyes, there is no blue pigment in your iris. Your eye color comes from tiny fibers scattering light in just the right way, exactly like the sky.
So, just how rare is a true blue pigment then? It is ridiculously rare. In fact, scientists only know of one land animal on the entire planet that has actually figured out the chemical recipe to make its own blue pigment, a little butterfly called the olive wing. It is the one exception that proves this incredible rule.
Okay, so this all leads to the big question, right? Why? Why did nature go through all the trouble of evolving these ridiculously complex nanostructures instead of just, making a blue pigment like it did for red and yellow? Well, the best theory we have is that it was simply the path of least resistance for evolution. For an animal to invent a brand new blue pigment would mean creating a whole new, really complicated chemical recipe from scratch. It was just so much easier for evolution to just tweak what was already there, like the keratin in a feather or the chitin on a wing, just changing its shape on a microscopic level. And that's really the punchline here. Nature took a shortcut. It was faced with a really hard chemistry problem, how to make blue, and it solved it with engineering. It's a brilliant little piece of nanotech.
And what I find so amazing is that this sense of wonder, it's not new at all. Way back in 1665, the scientist Robert Hooke looked at peacock feathers through one of the very first microscopes, and all he could write was that these colors are only fantastical ones. He knew, even then, that he was looking at something that wasn't quite a normal color, but something made of light and shape. And it's just a beautiful reminder that hundreds of years later, nature's cleverest tricks can still leave us completely in awe.